Hi everybody, Charles here. Welcome to Backroads Living. In today's video we're going to be talking about some concerns that one of our friends from Welsh has sent us, and we're going to address the lockdowns over there that's going on and how it seems that many of these places are in lockstep together. So hang in there and we'll get right on into the video. Let's look into an email I received this past week from one of our friends in Wales, and it's addressing the concern of the upcoming lockdown, and not only that, but how will that affect the food distribution in that country. So in this email it says we're now approaching Tier 4 restrictions, which is pretty much a full lockdown with all but food shops closing. I'm now anticipating the likelihood of rationing being brought in, with Brexit happening, the Navy being put to sea to enforce fishing rights. The UK is taking back, justifiably to my mind, but still a likely cause of problems in food supply. The people threatening rights over the restrictions of life over the holiday season, and confusion about different tiers of restriction from area to area. Life will be tough from here on in, and I can see how that could definitely happen, and how this could create a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration and anger in that country coming up on the holiday season, because we also see governors in the United States here who are proposing lots of restrictions over the holidays, and we see figures who are supposed to be in authority who are also saying things to that effect. So let's look at Wales first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the other. So what are you going to do in that emergency? Sometimes you don't have time to call the police. In those instances, you have to take matters into your own hands. Show that intruder your stunning lipstick. And send him home crying to his mama. To get these stunning lipsticks and our flashlight stun weapons, hop on over to backroadslivingfinds.com. You might want to get them before they get gone. In this article, printed on Wednesday the 16th of this year, it says Wales moves into lockdown restrictions from Christmas Day. Now this was again on the 16th, and it went into several things that was going to take place and how they were going to restrict families from gathering together on Christmas Day. They had gone from I think like 3 or 4 family units and had restricted it down to 2 family units. There were so many other things that took place, and all the restrictions, it said, will apply to the whole of Wales and will be reviewed after 3 weeks. So they were going to do this lockdown for 3 weeks, this Tier 4. So that took them through Christmas and the New Year. So any of those celebrations and holidays that people normally would celebrate, you can just scrap them. You can just toss them out. They're done for. Regional difficulties could be introduced in parts of Wales, proved to be in a different position in a reliable and sustainable way. People there are just like they were doing here. They're being encouraged to work from home, and the retail establishments there were and will be suffering the same, in my opinion, catastrophe there that happened here during the lockdowns here. The Welsh Retail Consortium has expressed concern at the decision to shut down non-essential retails Christmas Eve, and Sarah Jones, head of the Welsh Retail Consortium, said Welsh retailers have taken every mitigation possible to keep customers and staff safe. Lockdowns cost Welsh retailers over $100 million a week in lost sales. I don't know how much that is. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. And with continued low footfall in townships and city centers, many retailers face the stark reality of future job losses and store closures as a result of mounting rent bills and a return to full business rates liability from April. This forced closure will also make it more difficult for some shops to sell unsold pre-Christmas stock. While we welcome the promise of support from those businesses affected and that click and collect is permitted to stay open, the blunt reality is the offer of grant support won't make up for those lost sales. We can only hope those shops forced to close can weather the storm ahead. So that's where we were at in the United States also during all these lockdowns that went on across our country from state to state, from month to month. So many small businesses were shut down, had to close their doors, could not reopen, and they were not able to keep their rent up. They were not able to pay their overhead. They were not able to maintain their help, and had to let their help go, and millions of people were put on unemployment, and tens of thousands of these shops were closed indefinitely, never to open again, because they just didn't have the overhead, or they didn't have the money to maintain the overhead, and therefore they were forced into closures. And most of them, many thousands of them will never reopen because the money just isn't there. But now let's keep in mind, this was posted on the 16th, I think it was here, on the 16th of December 2020 at 1:57 p.m. And let's move forward just a little bit. Now let's move to Sunday, December the 20th. They were on the 16th saying they were going to close Christmas Day and going to restrict certain movement and certain gatherings and all these things. Now on the 20th, it's come up and said that new COVID restrictions will begin on the 20th. So it's not going to go into Christmas, and it has created a huge exodus. If you'll go online and look, you can find it. You'll find that the train stations were cram-packed, looked like sardines of people leaving the Welsh communities and these places that were coming under these lockdowns. And in the UK, they were just cram-packed with people. The train stations were trying to get out of that lockdown so they could spend time with their families and get away from all that. And but it's just they've created a lot of confusion over there with all this stuff. And we're going to watch a short video right here. It's just maybe a minute or something like that. It's not very long at all.
The new Tier 4 areas of southeast England, it's off. No household mixing will be allowed over the holidays. In the rest of England, as well as Scotland and Wales, households can meet, but on Christmas Day only. England's new Tier 4 takes effect at midnight tonight, banning all household mixing indoors. Outdoors, a maximum of 2 people can meet. There are exceptions for support bubbles, childcare and outdoor exercise. Tier 4 means everyone should work from home if they can, and all non-essential businesses must shut, including shops, gyms and hairdressers. Travelling into or out of Tier 4 is banned unless for essential work, and no travelling abroad is allowed. To Wales now, and the nationwide Alert Level 4 lockdown planned for December the 28th has been brought forward to midnight tonight. It's very similar to England's new Tier 4. No household mixing and non-essential businesses will close. And in Scotland, they will enforce a similar protection level 4 lockdown from Boxing Day across the country.
We were looking at Wales, and it said right here that the Wales lockdown would be similar to the UK lockdown, and it had been brought forward to midnight tonight, which was on the 20th. So those folks are going to be scrapping Christmas. Christmas and New Year's, 3 weeks of Tier 4 lockdown for Wales. I was trying to find the right here. No household mixing. One person can meet one other person outside in a public space, so you can't meet 2 other people. You're only allowed one person to meet one person with social distancing. All non-essential shops and businesses closed, including personal care and indoor entertainment. In their list, it also said that the the supermarkets, the grocery stores would have to cordon off all areas that sold toys, clothing, electronics, just anything that they deemed non-essential. And back in the beginning of all this, the first time they did a large lockdown like this, they left it up to the stores to determine what was essential and what wasn't, and they ended up in a huge mess over there because of that. And I foresee that happening again, but who knows what's on the horizon. No entering or leaving Tier 4 areas, so nobody's allowed to travel. You can't travel out to see family, and family can't travel in to see you for 3 weeks. Residents must not stay overnight away from home. You're not allowed to go spend the night with anybody. You can go meet one-on-one. You can go grocery shopping and rub elbows with hundreds of people, but you can't go visit your family. It's just their restrictions. What's going on over there? Scotland has said said its travel ban with the rest of the UK will now remain in place right through the festive period. So Scotland's following suit. If you've noticed, these countries over here, and not just there but here also, states follow suit here. When you see lockdowns in one state, then in just a few weeks you'll see lockdowns in another, and then lockdowns in another, and then lockdowns in another. And that's kind of the way it's going over here with these countries. You're seeing a lockdown in one place, and then another follows suit, and another follows suit the same way. So they said, yes, Christmas this year will be different, very different. We're sacrificing the chance to see our loved ones this Christmas so that we have a better chance of protecting their lives so that we can see them at a future Christmas. You can believe that if you choose to or not. That's your prerogative. But anyway, I wanted to go back over here real quick, and I think this was the one that showed some of the restrictions right here. These things are going to be closed through the Tier 4 lockdown. Venues for events and conferences, theaters and concert halls, indoor and outdoor visiting attractions, entertainment venues, wedding receptions and wakes, sports courts, golf courses, especially the golf courses because they're outdoors where you've got lots of fresh air, leisure and fitness facilities, outdoor visiting attractions. That's another place that, outdoors, you don't want to be out there in all that fresh air. Holiday accommodations, hospitality, close contact services, non-essential retail, licensed premises, takeaway and delivery only, between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. because after 10 it's way more dangerous. Libraries and active services, organized activities limited to public and voluntary services, nightclubs and adult entertainment venues. So all these places would have to close. Non-essential shops, gyms, hairdressers, hospitality business, and holiday accommodations would have to close. Indoor and outdoor attractions would be closed, but wedding ceremonies and funerals could continue with limited numbers and without a reception or wake. Schools, child care providers, places of worship, and parks would remain open. So that's a good thing. There are certain things that can still function. But again, we moved up to from the 19th, when they said they were going to do this, until this actually happened midnight on the 20th of December. So Wales is in an official Tier 4 lockdown, and all of this has taken place during the time that their official exit from the European Union is taking place, and they're going to be doing their own thing, as the old saying is. And there was a question in this email also as to, or not a question, but a concern. The lady that sent this to me said she was concerned that it might create food rationing with all this going on at this time. And, it very well could. We don't know how it's going to last. But it says, how will Brexit affect Welsh exports? Because once a company separates from another country, then they have to take care of their own exports and their own imports. They're no longer part of a group deal thing. And so now the Welsh are going to have to make their own deals and make their own way as far as imports and exports are concerned for their food. it says that farmers would be paid. Let's see. Let's back up here just a little bit. Meat exporters buy thousands of lambs from across Wales every week to sell, and this one is well aware of the interest in UK food and the potential pitfalls of the current political stalemate. Currently, we have the ability to trade around the world under the EU membership. If we Brexit, or when we Brexit, we have to renegotiate as our own country, and that is a process that takes time. And it does. It takes a lot of time to do these kind of things. Now, Brexit is a short term for Britain exiting the European Union. British exit is what that's short for, Brexit. And when they leave the European Union, I'll get that right, they will be responsible to negotiate their own imports and exports as their own country, because they'll no longer be under that umbrella of the European Union. And the industry, it says, I think as a UK industry, we have to wake up to the fact that we're in a serious game. It's not just a case of turning up and saying, here's our product, don't you want it? Because the answer is, well, I've got lots of other offers. And that's the thing you run into, no matter what country you are, whether you're the United States or Britain or China or, Australia. No matter who you are, you have to compete with other countries who are making offers to sell their goods just as well. And now when the Welsh come out from under the European Union, all the contracts that they had with all these other people will no longer be in effect. They'll have to make their own contract now. They'll have to supply their own means of exports and imports. They won't be under that umbrella anymore. So how will that affect them? Well, we don't really know, because there's a lot that can happen. There's a lot of things that could happen that could affect them greatly. And if the negotiations don't go through as they need to, then it could most certainly restrict or even put limitations on how much food a person could buy in certain areas, depending on how that area is affected. I would not want to be in that position right now, not really knowing if the government hadn't made plans already ahead of time to secure all these things and hadn't already negotiated all these things ahead of time. Because to my understanding, this has been going on since 2016, was when they've made the decision to make this exit. And just in my mind, I would think the government would have already made all the necessary arrangements for imports and exports and things like that for their country. But again, we run here, it says Matthew Hunt runs Philco Supermarkets. It's an independent chain of shops. He's currently able to get fresh food from Europe onto his shelves real quick. A prospective increase in tariffs, even if the UK gets a new deal, has him worried. There is a threat, he said. We operate on fine margins, so any increase in that tariff is going to put us under added threat. If our competition is able to withstand the pressure of cost rises, our consumers would likely shop with them rather than us. Mr. Hunt buys fruit and vegetables from wholesalers like Phillips Jones, whose family business near Pontypool imports them from Europe, much of it through the Netherlands. Mr. Jones can order salads from Dutch suppliers and have them ready to send out to shops within 24 hours. Him and his son Alex both voted Remain, but are worried about the future of their business as the political stalemate continues. See, this should have never happened. This political stalemate stuff, this affects entire countries. It doesn't just affect one person, it affects the entire country. And I've said this about the United States as well. Governments don't care about the people. They care about themselves and how much they're going to prosper and profit from these things. If this was a situation that they cared, it would have already been taken care of. If this was going to affect them and their families and how they were going to secure their food, this would have been taken care of months ago. So we pray for our friends in Wales, and we pray that this situation is brought into check very soon, that decisions are made that will prosper them and benefit them, and that the politicians will quit playing politics, and just like they do here in the United States, and that they will make decisions that are good for their countrymen, because that's what needs to be done. That's always what needs to be done, but it's very seldom done. Normally the the decisions are not meant and are not made that end up truly helping people. Most of the time it helps the few, and that few are the ones who are always associated with the political realm and the wealthiest. So keep that in mind. Keep our friends in Wales in mind, and let's follow this and see what goes on. Leave us your thoughts in the comments below. If you've been following this, I'd love to have your opinions on it and your thoughts. Don't forget, if you've not subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe and like the video. We don't normally report on these kind of things, but I found it a very interesting subject because this is going to affect the people in Wales, and since we talk a lot about prepping here on this channel, I can only imagine that there are people there who need to be prepping, that just like here in the United States, these things affect them, and what's going on in our country affects us, and that's why I keep saying prep, prep, prep. Every time you go to the grocery store, prep something. Don't go to town and pass up an opportunity to buy something to prep with. No matter what it is, whether it's food or whether it's goods that you may need, whatever the case may be, always keep in mind that you need to be prepping. If you've got space in your pantry, look to that space and try to fill it up with the things that are needful. If you've got things around your home that you need to secure, things like gardening tools and just tools in general, if you don't have those or you're short on them, try to find those things and fill those gaps, fill those spaces, because those are things that are going to be needful in our future and in your future. So with that being said, God bless you all. We pray for you in Wales. We pray for our country, and we ask that you guys look to the Lord for your strength and for your help. And until the next time, we'll see you in the next video.